Well, it seems I've overshot Brunswick for the second year in a row. I'm coming to you here from Topsail Island, North Carolina. And before I make the drive south to Georgia, we've got a great episode of Creekside Gameday coming your way as the Knights get ready for their Week 3 Border Wars clash with Richmond Hill from just south of Savannah. Can the Knights get a big win on the road in Georgia? We're going to have to find out at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But first, it's time for Creekside Gameday.
Saturday night. I pray for the wicked on the weekend. Mama, can I get another amen? Oh, it's Saturday night. Swear to God, I ain't never gonna repent. Mama, can I get another amen? Oh, it's Saturday night. It's Saturday, it's Saturday.
Creekside Gameday is sponsored in part by Angela Tharp, real estate advisor and broker associate, 25 years working with buyers and sellers. Reach out to Angela Tharp for your real estate needs. That one painter First Coast. That painter you need, we're the one. And Tom Moore Realtor. Tom covers all of the Jacksonville and St. John's areas. When you need a realtor, ask for Moore. Tom Moore. Hello everyone and welcome into Creekside Gameday, the premier Saturday game day show covering Creekside football. I'm your host Noah Schlicksup and welcome in to today's episode. We're going to sit down with Cole Long and Liam Ross from the defensive line later on, but first we're going to start things off with my matchup breakdown. This game against Richmond Hill could end up being crucial at the end of the season, and let me tell you why. Richmond Hill, I believe, is an underrated team. They are going to be a tough matchup for Creekside tonight. But the Knights after this are going to go on the road to face a really tough Buchholz team. After that, Stack Mandarin squad at home, then Oakleaf and the Battle of Longleaf Pine at Bartram Trail. They've got a really tough stretch of games the rest of the way this season, these next 4 in specific. And overall, when you look back at the end of the season, if they drop a few of those, a win today could be absolutely huge for the Creekside Knights. Richmond Hill is a team that wins the majority of their games on the defensive side of the ball over the past few years. Creekside, over this last year or so, they get it done offensively. This should be a really good battle between two powerful units. Richmond Hill lost just one defensive starter from a unit that allowed 26 points per game last year. This is a defense with experience and talent. The Wildcats have gotten off to a nice start defensively this year, allowing just 14 points per game. Here's a category where the Wildcats have improved already. Last year, just 1 interception the entire season. They've doubled that through their first 3 games with 2. Opponents have had mixed results through the air against Richmond Hill, but I feel Creekside can have a good game through the air in this one, especially if the Knights can limit their mistakes in the passing game. Nice was a messy game for this Creekside Knights team. Although this offense is putting up a lot of points this year, there's still a few things they need to clean up offensively, and that all starts in the passing game, especially downfield. The key is just taking what the defense gives them. I feel like at times this Knights offense is trying to do a little too much for some things. You'd like to see them, take it back a notch this week and just try to have a clean game through the air. Keep in mind that Creekside has also now lost 2 of their top receivers early on the season and only have 1 guy on the roster now who made a catch for them all last year. I believe this team is still looking to gel a little bit at the position, but still, this passing game I'm not concerned about for Creekside, and I feel they'll have a good game tonight. As for the running game, Harrison Garrido did really well last week, filling in the injury absence of Nicky Williams. Williams last year rushed for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns in this Border Wars game, but unfortunately, the Knights have found out that he's going to be missing quite a bit of time this season. So Garrido and Nate Black, who each played really well against Nice, they're the next man up. Garrido showed off his breakaway speed with over 300 total yards last Friday between kick returns and his rushing stats. On just 9 carries, Garrido had 170 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns, 1 going from 68 yards. Black also had a nice game capitalizing on goal-to-go situations with 2 touchdowns of his own. These guys have showed that They should be able to carry the burden and play next man up, a phrase Creekside has become all too familiar with early on this season. Taking a look at Richmond Hill offensively, they power their offense with the run. Experienced head coach Matt Lazo runs the ball 76% of the time with his Wildcats team. And though this does mean the Knights can gear up and look to stop it, they can't go all out against the run either. The Richmond Hill Wildcats have scored 8 touchdowns this year, 3 of them in the air, and all these passing touchdowns have been 20-plus yards. This Knights secondary has been vulnerable to some of these deep passing plays this season, so that's something to watch out for. This Wildcats passing game mostly consists of short passes and screens, but a few times a game, they'll gear up and take their shots downfield. And with defenses loading up against the run, they'll work a man open for a large passing play. If the Knights can lock down on these plays downfield, I believe that can truly make this Wildcats team one-dimensional on offense. The key player to watch on the Wildcats offense is Nick Bliss, and the reason I didn't say position right there with him is because he plays running back and wide receiver. Bliss is accounted for 5 of those 8 touchdowns offensively for Richmond Hill that I mentioned earlier. He leads the team in receiving touchdowns, and rushing touchdowns this season. He'll be the man to watch on this Wildcats offense tonight. The defensive line for Creekside could end up being the key factor for a Knights win tonight. The D-line and linebackers have done a really nice job this year defending against the run and getting pressure on opposing quarterbacks on passing plays. The Knights would love to see more of this, as a big game up front could shut down this Richmond Hill offense. And this leads us into our next segment, where we sit down with Liam Ross and Cole Long over Zoom, who have been the key guys on this defensive line early on this season. Let's check it out. Butler looks to pass. On a screen, it falls apart. He is going to be sacked! There's no denying that this Creekside defensive line has taken a major step forward from last year, and Cole Long and Liam Ross have been leading the charge. So as a defensive line, you guys had high expectations here coming into the season. How do you feel you've performed up front so far?
I feel good, especially about the pass game. We got some big guys this year. We're ready to stop the run, especially this week against Richmond Hill in Georgia. Heavy run team, but, I'm looking forward to it. These guys are a great group of kids this year.
Last year, we struggled getting to the quarterback. This year, we're doing a lot better at getting to the quarterback and finishing tackles and tackles for losses. So I think we're, as a whole, our passing is a lot better.
Last year, for you individually, you had a good season, but this season, you've really taken a step forward. You're in there on every play, being a real disruptor in the backfield. Where do you feel you've seen the most improvement in your game from last fall to this season?
Definitely my reaction time, determining if it's a pass or a run. And then my first step, I've worked a lot in the offseason, a bunch of different coaches, just trying to get my first step very quick. So I'm quick off the ball and I'm able to react quick, figure out if run or pass. What's
been the key to your success as a player here up on the defensive front? You've been having a really good season. What do you think has been the main contributors to that?
Personally, I like to prioritize my speed. I like getting around the offensive lineman more than fiddling with them. And I just like being in that backfield. It's my favorite thing about D-line.
You were a guy this is a really experienced defensive line. You had to come up and earn your spot on this team. Talk about the, establishing your spot on the defensive front over the spring and the summer.
I wasn't really the top guy that everyone was looking forward to seeing on the field that much during spring and summer. So, 100% I had to work my way up. Just try to prove what I had in practice, gave me some chances in game and saw what I had. So I'm glad they did.
The other thing that I've noticed is talking with you, I wouldn't really expect it, but you play with a lot of emotion out there on the football field. Just what does it mean to you to suit up as a Creekside Knight each Friday night?
It means everything. I've been here all 4 years. I've worked all the way up from JV Black. Been here through the struggles. It's been hard, but finally we're getting our time to shine. And it's, I get to be out there with my brothers and have fun. And I'm just trying to enjoy that, have fun this year. So, the emotions, sometimes they get the best of me, but then, I like to play with my emotions on my sleeves.
What's your mindset going into each play, lining up on the D-line?
I just want to get knocked back on the guy in front of me. I want to make him feel what I have coming and make sure he knows what's going to come the next play too.
Mentally, for me, I'm going to dominate the person in front of me. And so that's just a mindset that I have going into every play. So if I think that they can't beat me, then they can't beat me.
And talking with Liam as well, about this run game. Richmond Hill runs the ball 76% of the time. They'll come out here and surprise you with a pass here and there, but the game's won on the ground. For the defensive line this week, how are you preparing for that matchup?
We're working with a lot of double teams. We know we're gonna get doubled up front. We know they're big up front. And so just our pad level, staying low. We were a little high last week. So just staying low, splitting double teams, and just firing off the ball.
We're ready to take on what they have for us and ready to stop that run.
Big thanks to Liam and Cole for sitting down with me on the show today. The Knights would love to see big games from each of those two guys at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And how do I think this game will end up? Well, it should be a competitive matchup. These border war games are always really fun. Each of these two teams had fantastic matchups last year in the first ever Border Wars Classic. But this year, I think Creekside's going to end up with a 30-24 victory over Richmond Hill. And again, this game kicks off at 4 o'clock. You can tune in right here on Slick Sports, listening live audio only. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got to go make a 6-hour drive. And I'll see you there later this afternoon. You've been watching Creekside Game Day. I'll see you next week here on Slick Sports.